Sunday Night Football down to the wire. 6-point game, 24 ticks. Kenny Pickett on 2nd and 2. Stepping up, had Greengrass in front of him, didn't take it and throws a pick. Initially called no catch on the field. They would convene. Hold on. Yes, it was. You can see the toes, and on the replay, you can see him tap. An interception by Noah Igbenogany puts an end to this game. 16-10 is your final as we take one last look at this one. The Dolphins had 13 points early on in this game. Not a whole lot to show for it beyond it, but 16-10 is your final, and it's all they needed as they improved to 4-3 on the season. Tua Tagovailoa, now in games that he starts and finishes, 4-0 this season, went 21 of 35 for 261, a touchdown, and took some licks as well as the Dolphins get above 500 here in Week 7. All right, let's assess with CBS Sports NFL analyst Ryan Wilson and the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. Guys, sort of a weird pacing to this game. Offense looked easy early on for the Fins. Miami, 13 points in the first 12 and a half minutes of the game, and then 3 points in the final 47 and a half, but it was enough in the end. Ryan, I'll go your way first. What'd you take away from the game flow of this one?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It was a tale of not only two halves, but it felt like after those first 12 minutes when the Dolphins were absolutely dominant, perhaps paying homage to the 72 team that was there, things just sort of went dark. And it wasn't necessarily an issue because the Steelers offensively kept shooting themselves in the foot, and defensively they kept dropping interceptions. By the time it was all said and done, they had dropped 4 interceptions that could have been game-changing plays. Perhaps the most head-scratching thing we saw offensively, other than Tua Tagovailoa refusing to get down when he scrambled with the ball, was Mike McDaniel's decision to kick that field goal to go for it on 4th and short instead of kicking the field goal. It would have made it 19-10, and the game virtually would have felt like it would have been over midway through the third quarter. He instead went for it. The Steelers' defense, other than those dropped interceptions, played lights out after that first quarter or so, and they did all they could do to keep that offense in the game late. And we saw how it ended with those 2 interceptions down the stretch by Kenny Pickett. Learning experience, I guess, for your rookie, but that's a game the Steelers could have won, probably should have won, and in a season that they now sit at 2-5, it's just another L for them, and what could end up being a really long season.
This game was just a storyline of the Steelers' season so far. Missed opportunities, not coming down in the clutch, and game-changing like plays. You talked about the missed interceptions. Yes, 4 missed interceptions. And then when you transition to the Miami Dolphins, they made their plays. 3 big-time interceptions for their defense, gave their offense the opportunities to get back on the football field, extra possessions, and they had enough to win this ball game. And right now, the Steelers are not a good team. This was a game they should have won, but they found a way to lose this ball game. And the rookie in a very, very difficult situation on the road, trying to score a touchdown, just trying to force the issue. It looked like it was an opportunity to run easily for the first down and get out of bounds, but he decided to try to be aggressive and throw it. Game-winning interception for the Miami Dolphins. Just miscues. One team capitalized on the opportunities, the other didn't. Because of that, the Dolphins were able to prevail and win this ball game.
Yeah, it's that word that we hear a lot when we're talking about young quarterbacks who do falter in these moments. We see flashes, and I think we see flashes here out of Kenny Pickett, but not enough down the stretch. You guys both allude to it there. The missed opportunities, especially dropped picks, a little bit of mismanaged clock at the end of the first half as well for the Steelers. Likely looking back at this film, guys, feeling like they almost beat themselves in this one, B-Mac. What's the conversation internally when that is the case, when you're putting yourself in the position to succeed and not yet succeeding?
Yeah, that's the way to win ball games in the National Football League. When you get these chances, right? 2 of those missed interceptions led to field goals by the Miami Dolphins. Miami won 16-10.
Quick math.
16-10. You take away 2 of those field goals, we don't know exactly how it would have ended, but you like your chances more so than giving up those points. So those were that was the storyline for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Defensively, they did a real good job in keeping everything in front of them, not allowing big-time plays, but they did a horrible job in cashing in on the interceptions. And I was watching the game. I kept seeing missed interception from this player, from that player. I said to myself, I know one guy who won't miss an interception. That's Micah Fitzpatrick. But unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to get his hands on the football. And that was it. That was the deciding factor. And I know we can talk about the rookie quarterback and the miscues and the turnovers, but in Pittsburgh, it's about defense. We are held to a different standard, a higher standard. And when you get an opportunity to make those plays at 4 opportunities, if you come down with just 2 guys, just 2 of those interceptions, I think Pittsburgh would have won this ball game.
Exactly right, B-Mac. And you talked before the game about how bad teams find ways to lose football games. Those are 4 glaring examples. You also mentioned Kenny Pickett. And if you talk about that next to last drive that ended in an interception of Javon Holland that seemed like the game might be over, a bunch of silly plays by the offense, penalty after penalty that went from 3rd and 1 at the 10-yard line that pushed them all the way back to the 30. One of those plays, Kenny Pickett left the pocket. Dan Moore, the left tackle, got called for a hold. If Kenny Pickett stays in the pocket, there's no reason to leave. There's a crosser right in front of him for a first down. He didn't do that on a 3rd and 6, I believe, after the first penalty. Interception. The final drive, you just talked about it, Joe. A lot of green grass, probably had 15 or 20 yards he could have run with about 25, 30 seconds to go. Instead, forced the ball into the end zone. Noah Igbenogany made that fantastic interception. And, that's a wrap. It's a learning experience, but it's a game, as B-Mac noted, for the taking. And not just once or twice or 3 times, 4, 5, 6 opportunities to win that football game. And each and every time the Steelers said, nah, we're good. We'll try again on the next drive. And they ran out of drives.
I thought Ryan Wilson was going to start singing for us there for a second, if we were only so lucky. Let's assess the play here of Kenny Pickett, guys, because looking at the numbers, 32 of 44, 257, a touchdown, 3 interceptions, 2 late in the 4th quarter there, as we just spoke about. But this is a guy who's going to be given the long leash to learn here in what is I don't want to call it rebuilding season, but it's a learning season and a learning experience for not just him, but for this team as a whole, B-Mac. When you take a look at what Kenny Pickett was able to do, he leads the drive down the field, doesn't punctuate that drive at any moment, but did make some nice throws, 4th and long, sticks out in front of him, behind the sticks. He's a gamer, which is a term we like to throw around here when we don't know how to define a guy just yet. What are you seeing out of Pickett here early on in his young career, B-Mac?
He's a guy that competes. You know what I mean? He fights. I love that. He's a competitor. I think as he continues to gain experience, he will learn to take what the defense is giving him. You look at that Javon Holland interception, they're in field goal range, right? So if you don't force the issue, and let's say you settle for an incompletion, now you get an opportunity to cut the lead down to 3 points and give the defense a chance to get on the football field to give you another extra possession. But as a rookie, when you force it, you force things, you try to force things, bad things will happen. We saw that with the Holland interception. We saw that with the game-winning interception at the end of the game. He has to learn just to take what the defense is giving him. He had time. And like I said, I thought he had an opportunity to scramble for the first down and get out of bounds, which would have been huge to be able to stop the clock, come up with a nice play to attack the end zone. But all in all, this is a learning experience. I think understanding and knowing that he would be in the lineup, you knew you were going to see some growing pains. And I think they anticipated that. But it's hard when you see those growing pains in a loss.
Absolutely, B-Mac. And you talked about that scramble there at the end that could have, should have been. And I think at some point for young quarterbacks, even though Kenny Pickett's 24, the game is moving so fast that you struggle to slow it down. They had 4.5 minutes to go before that on that next to last drive, and they were playing with such urgency. It felt like they thought there was only 30 seconds to go. And I think if they just were able to slow down, take a few deep breaths, it would have been a little easier in terms of the decision-making. That's easy for me to say as I sit here without a care in the world. I get that. But I think you're exactly right about the growing pains. We knew they were coming. I think the upside is we've seen flashes from Kenny Pickett, and we know that he's capable of making those plays. It isn't a situation where you see a young quarterback and you go, that wasn't a great pick by that team. I think Kenny Pickett has an opportunity to be special. And I'll just give him a little free advice. When in doubt, don't throw it to Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool. Throw it to George Pickens. I don't care if it's double or triple team. There's a good chance he's going to catch it and come down with the football, and that can make your life a lot easier as a young quarterback.
Yeah, we saw a lot of ball control and, let's say, ball skill struggles out of the defensive side of the ball. When that ball's up in the air, George Pickens likes to go and get it. We do have to talk about the Miami side of this. They had a quarterback who we saw in a terrible place not too long ago come out, did take some licks. That is Tua Tagovailoa. But Mike McDaniel, now 4 wins on the season at the helm of this Dolphins team. His inaugural trip here as a head coach. Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, Harbaugh, and a McDermott on that list of coaches that he's outcoached. I wouldn't say that this was his magnum opus of coaching here, Mike McDaniel, in this situation. But early on in the season, to have this team through the attrition, 4 wins on the schedule already, Ryan, what have you made of Mike McDaniel here through 7 weeks?
He's done a really good job, and we can quibble about the decision to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking the field goal against the Steelers offense that was struggling. But I think the totality of his work at this point is one in which you can say, yeah, this guy gets it. And you mentioned the names he's currently in the mix with. And here's the thing about the offense that they currently have, and I'm laughing because it includes, of course, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. He comes out like Mike Tyson in his prime, this offense does, and punches you in the face, and you're down 13-0, and you don't know what happened. And then as the opposition, you have to sort of reconvene and try to figure out how to solve this problem in the middle of a football game. The Steelers did a great job of that on Sunday night, but it's a hard ask for any NFL team when you have that sort of firepower to go along with that sort of zone stretch run game that was successful early on in the football game. And if the game calls for hanging on for dear life, if you're the Dolphins, they're able to do that. They were able to get an occasional first down, switch field position, and play a little defense. And I don't know if that's necessarily a winning strategy long term, but it's good enough to beat the Steelers. And I think once you fine-tune how that offense works after the first few series, they're going to be a tough ask for any defense to handle. I mean, those first three drives were something that you would look at and be you should be really, really concerned about if you're a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they need to improve on. The first few, 10 to 12, 15 scripted plays, they're on point. But then after those 15 plays, you kind of see things slow down. Remember, we all thought this was going to be a rout based on how on point they were to start the ball game off. But my assessment of McDaniels so far, real good job. To be 4-3 in a moment in a year where you lost your quarterback for some ball games, you had to play with your backup, and then you had to play with your third string. To be above 500 is a plus. You look at the next three games they have, that stretch. They got Detroit, they got Chicago, they got Cleveland, all winnable ball games, especially with them being healthy. I like what they're doing. I think they have a legit chance to make the playoffs. I need to see more improvement, more consistency from their defense. They did so tonight against an offense they should be able to dominate against, create turnovers. That has to be something that they can build upon moving forward. But in all, kudos to the job he's done. Very, very creative play caller, explosive offense. And as long as their quarterback is healthy, they got a fighting chance.
That is right. Tua came out, played with his hair on fire early in this one, but no points in the second half by either team. It's enough for the Finns to get into the win column once again. Guys, we appreciate your insights as always. And don't forget, the conversation has just begun. Both of those gentlemen a part of our team of award-winning podcasts. It's Bryant McFadden, Patrick Peterson on all things covered. Can't miss conversations week in and week out with some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment. And you want more Ryan Wilson? Check out the Pick 6 podcast as well.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.